A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, The Bird of Avon. In the city of Athens there was a cruel law. It gave the parents power and right to force their daughters to marry anybody they chose for them. The girls had no will of their own. They had to obey their parents, for else the law would even put them to death. But no father would like to see his daughter die for disobeying him, so this law was seldom enforced. But it happened once that Aegeus, an old father, complained to the Duke Theseus against his daughter Hermia, who had refused to marry Demetrius, whom he had chosen for her. Hermia loved another young man whose name was Lysander. So now Aegeus appealed to the Duke to have her daughter punished under the law. Hermia justified her love for Lysander and rejection of Demetrius, was already in love with her friend Helena. But her argument could not save her from the cruel law, as nothing could justify her disobedience. The Duke believed in tempering justice with mercy, but he had no power to change the law. So he gave Hermia 4 days to reconsider her decision. After 4 days, if she still refused to marry Demetrius, she would be put to death. Hermia then went to see Lysander and told him of the danger she was in. Lysander was sad to hear that Hermia could save herself only if she gave up Lysander and married to Demetrius. Then he remembered that he had an aunt who lived at a place where the law of Athens could not be enforced. She told Hermia to leave Athens at night and he would take her to his aunt's, so that they could marry there without the fear of punishment. He told her, I will wait for you in the wood at a safe distance. You know that wood, for we have often gone there. Hermia happily agreed to his proposal, but she told her friend Helena about her intention, and Helena was foolish enough to tell Demetrius about the intended fight. She did not intend any harm to Hermia, but she only hoped to go into the wood with a faithless lover who she was sure would follow Hermia there. The wood in question, where Lysander and Hermia was to meet, was a favorite land of the fairies. The king and the queen of the fairies, Oberon and Titania, would frequent the forest with their followers and hold their midnight dances there. Now the king and the queen were not on best of terms during that time, for they quarrelled over the possession of a little boy. The boy was the son of Titania's friend. When she was dead, the fairy queen stole the child and brought it up in the wood. Oberon would like to have that boy, but Titania would not listen. That night, when Hermia and Lysander were to meet in the forest, Titania and Oberon too were met by moonlight. But they went on quarrelling, and proud Titania insisted on retaining the boy, though Oberon threatened her with serious consequences. The queen went away telling the king that the boy would never be his slave. This angered the king and he sent for Puck, his favorite counselor. Puck was very clever and he was fond of making fun with others. He teased the villagers with his pranks and spent hours with the dairy maids. Now the king told him, bring me the flower of juice, of which if put on the sleeping eyelids makes one love madly. Pour this juice on the eyelids of Titania when she is asleep, so that she falls madly in love with anyone she sees first after waking up. I am sure this trick will make her part with that boy of hers. Puck really loved such pranks, so he left at once to find that flower. As the fairy king was waiting for Puck's return, he saw Demetrius and Helena coming that way. Helena was arguing with Demetrius about his faithlessness. Demetrius spoke to her with unkind words and left her there. Helena was frightened to be alone with the beasts in the wood and ran after him. Seeing and hearing all this, the king was sad. For he felt pity for Helena. So when Puck returned, he told him to find Demetrius and put a little of the juice he had collected into his eyes when he would be asleep. But he advised Puck to do that only when Helena would be around, so that she would be the first his eyes would fall on. Puck found the queen. Puck promised to do that, and Oberon set out to find Titania. He found the queen with her fairies who were singing to her. Soon the queen fell asleep, and Oberon, unseen, went near her, dropping the love juice on her eyelids. Meanwhile, Hermia quietly left her father's house and entered the forest that night. Lysander was waiting for her there, but as they were passing through the wood, Hermia was found too tired to walk any further. So Lysander told her to rest till morning, and he himself lay down at some distance from her. Soon they fell asleep. It was then that Puck came in search of Demetrius and Helena. He thought Hermia and Lysander were the lovers he was searching for. So he poured the love juice on the eyelids of Lysander. But then when Lysander awoke, Helena came on that way. She was the first thing he set his eyes on. Immediately Lysander forgot Hermia and fell in love with Helena. So for the mistake of Puck, a true lover was separated from his beloved lady. Poor Hermia was left alone there, and Lysander followed Helena, his new lady. Helena was deserted by Demetrius, but now her misfortune was even worse. She never thought of being in love with Lysander, who was devoted to her friend. In his madness, Lysander proposed to marry Helena. But Helena would not believe him. She thought that he was mocking her, or because her Demetrius would never address her with sweet words, Lysander must be pretending to hear her wounds. She did not know of the love juice that had changed Lysander. When Hermia woke up, she found herself alone. As she was wandering about in search of Lysander, she was sad and frightened. Elsewhere, Demetrius too was tired and lay down to rest, for he gave up his search for Hermia and Lysander in despair. In the meantime, Oberon had learnt that Puck had poured his juice on the eyelids of a wrong person. So when he saw Demetrius asleep, he put the magic juice on his eyelids. When Demetrius awoke, Helena came there and immediately fell in love with her. Helena was delighted to find Demetrius changed and addressing her with sweet words of love. But Lysander had followed her there and Hermia following him. Helena thought that Hermia and Lysander must have made a plan to make a fool of her. But Hermia herself was surprised to find Lysander changed so much. But still Helena accused her of setting Lysander on her. Hermia tried to calm Helena, for she was innocent. Thus the two friends were engaged in bitter exchanges, and their relation appeared to be strained beyond repair. Leaving them there, Demetrius and Lysander decided to fight between them for the love of Helena. This made Oberon cross with Puck, for Puck was to blame for all that was happening to the lovers. He ordered Puck to fill the night with thick fog and keep the two men separated from each other. Wandering in the wood, they would be very soon and fall asleep. Just then Puck would pour the other juice on the eyelids of Lysander. When he would awake, he would forget Helena and return to Hermia. Thus the two ladies would be united happily with their lovers again. With this order, Puck went to find Lysander and Demetrius, and the king himself went to see what sweet lover his queen had found on waking up. When Oberon found Titania, she was still asleep. He saw a rustic lying nearby. The rustic had lost his way and came there to rest. Oberon immediately decided that Titania must see that man first. He put the head of an ash on the man and fixed it on his shoulder. As he was doing it, the man woke up. He did not know what Oberon had done to him. So he went nearer to the place where the fairy queen was sleeping. Now Titania too awoke and saw the man with his ashes head. She found the stranger very beautiful, and thinking that he must be an angel, fell in love with him. The man was surprised to see the lady behave that way. He told her that he must find his way out of the forest. But Titania would not let him go. She called 4 fairies and ordered them to attend on the sweet gentleman. She bade them to serve him grapes, apricots, and honey. Then she asked the gentleman to sit by her so that she could play with his heavy cheeks and kiss his long ears. The man too felt a little proud to find so many fairies attending on him. So he ordered them about and enjoyed the mad love of the queen. The king at last saw him asleep in the arms of Titania and appeared before the queen, accusing her of showing kindness to an ass. The queen could not deny her love for the man in her arms, and she was ashamed of it. She agreed to give up the little boy whom Oberon made his page. After this, he threw a little juice of another flower into the eyes of Titania, and the queen immediately recovered her senses. She now hated to look at the clown with the head of an ass. Oberon then took the head off and left the rustic in his sleeve. The king and the queen now went together to see what Puck had done to the lovers in the wood. At some distance they found the lovers asleep. Puck had already corrected his mistake by removing the love juice from the eyes of Lysander. Hermia woke up first, and presently Lysander opened his eyes. They began to talk about the strange things that had happened to them. They wondered if they were really dreaming of all that had happened. Helena and Demetrius also woke up at that time, and they listened to the talk of Hermia and Lysander. They forgot their quarrel and became friends again. Now Demetrius proposed that he must go back to Athens and persuade Hermia's father to accept Lysander in his place. But just then Hermia's father Aegeus came there. When he heard Demetrius, he agreed to marry his daughter to Lysander, and on the same day Helena too would be married to Demetrius. The fairy king and queen saw and heard all this, and they decided to celebrate the union of lovers with sports and games all over the fairyland. Please like, share and comment on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.